Welcome guys. So a few days ago I uploaded a video on a build project I had been working on for a while, a few months even. And that build project was supposed to take like 2 days. So, it didn't take the amount of time I thought it would. It took much longer. But anyways, I also mentioned a printer that I was working on to make the build process just a little bit easier. And see, this printer, what it does is it rotates parts of the build. Because that's what I need. I need to be rotating parts of this build at precise increments, Because I don't want to do that by hand. That is way too much work, alright? That would be another 3 months. I don't want this build to take 6 months. I want it to take less than a month, but we can't get what we want. So I want it to take slightly less than 6 months. Hence, I made a printer. Why am I getting invites from this person? Who are you? I don't know you. Please do not invite me. Anyway, so I made the printer. Everything goes fine. I upload the video. Next day, issues occur. First, let's talk about what the printer even is, because it was a lot of work to make it. All right. Stop inviting me. Oh my God. I do not like this person at all. But I also cannot block him. Why? I say I can't block him because, it takes like half an hour to do so. Who's the person who broke his bed? Probably Red, right? Yeah, it was Red. Stop inviting me! Oh my God! I'm actually starting to get annoyed by this person inviting me. Nope. Denied. Let's try to go. Why? This is gonna be the theme of the videos. I'm getting invited constantly. Woohoo. What do you think I am? Some casual? Think I'm some casual? Nah. Nah, get out of here. Get out of here. You're getting denied. Alright? Get denied. You're out of here. Goodbye. You had a good run. Not really, though. Get stabbed. Alright. Anyway, so I want to talk about, what a printer is, because, it took so much work to even make it. Took like a week. Anyway, so a printer is made up of 3 parts. You have the copier, which saves the thing you're trying to copy over to memory, right? Where you simply have something that exists already, so don't worry about that part. You have the printer, which, just prints. It makes the build exist in another location. And you have the movers. And the movers just make everything, move. I know, super complicated. I use armor stands as the copiers, which just run over a preset structure I've already built like half an hour ago. Not half an hour ago, like a whole day ago. Yeah. Anyways, I want to stab this man. But like I was saying, armor stands are our laser to our laser printer, essentially. You can think of it as that. We have boats acting as an ink stream, or however a real printer works. I'm not sure how they work now that I think about it. And last but definitely not least, those movers really make this thing work. So otherwise you can think of your laser printer just printing on the same piece of paper. But now this is a 3D printer, and it ain't using plastic, it's using Minecraft. Incredible, I know. Yeah, the project took a little bit of time, and then I made a video about the build project. Next day, issues occurred. What was the thing that happened? Well, you see, I have an offset to the printer, because boats are what I'm using to print the structure, right? Well, if a boat touches a block, it goes, no, I can't deal with this. I need to move. I can't exist in this particular place. No, the boat decides to change locations, which is very bad when you're dealing with something that's having to be precise to a singular degree, having exact positions to be at when printing. It's basically what happens when your 3D printer has a meltdown. That's what happens with this thing. It also has a meltdown, and it prints everything in crazy ways. But it's consistent in how it does that. Bad news is you can't do nothing about it. Unless you change the offset. See, originally, I made the offset the size of the first build I printed, which was 22 blocks tall. So it was just a 22 block offset. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, so I had to change it. This was painful, by the way, because you had to change it for each and every boat. There's 33 of those, by the way. That's not fun to change. And technically, I have to do it 66 times, not 33. Yay! Woohoo! And for every single module I make. It was not a fun time. It was not fun at all. So, I changed the offset, and the printer is back to working. Glorious. Absolutely beautiful. And the thing I mentioned about trigonometry is, well, usually you'd have to be like, oh, you're changing the angle of something, and it's being printed in a 3D space? Well, that's going to make the structure look weird. But trigonometry said, nah, fam, I gotcha. Everything looks normal. If you know anything about that problem, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Usually you get spaghettiification, and you don't want that. But I didn't have to deal with any of that. You're just dead. Thank you for walking off. I didn't even have to. I got no kills even. I'm too good at this game. But anyways, I changed the offset to be way bigger. I changed it to be 64 by 30. That is so much difference versus the 22. I went from 22 to 64 by 30. There's a reason for this. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to have a bone structure. And bones in animation are just what you use to rotate structures. Not rotate, just rigging animations. That's what you use. Use bones. So I was going to have a bone structure because it would make life way easier. Foreshadowing trigonometry. We'll see what that means later, alright? Well, you'll see what I mean by trigonometry being related to bones. It's strange that trigonometry and bones have something in common, but they do, and you'll see why soon. But anyways, that problem won't occur yet. What happens is the thing breaks. I changed the offset. Oh my goodness, Smokey, did you accidentally break something by changing your offset? And the answer is no. Mojang broke something. You just gotta blame your problems on Mojang. Something doesn't work, it was Mojang's fault. Dang it, I kicked a table, it was Mojang's fault. I stubbed my toe, Mojang's fault. My foot hurts, Mojang's fault. I feel like a lot of these have to be dealing with me hurting my foot. But you know what, it's Mojang's fault anyways. Yeah, no, not really, but this is Mojang's fault, alright? What happened? Well, you see, my printer stopped printing the top of the structure. This had me greatly confused. Like, holy cow, what went wrong? How is it not printing the top of the structure? This should be impossible. And I'm thinking, like, how could this happen? It has to do with the offset. Great. But it's not my fault why this happened, but at the same time, it absolutely 100% is. It 100% is my fault. Whoopsie toodles. Whoopsie toodles. I want to break this man's bed before I continue on that. So, the offset was actually so big that it was outside of render distance. Now, usually, if you have a command that is operating outside of render distance, what happens is this man falls off the map. Okay. Anyways, this map isn't loading. What happens when a command is executed outside of something that's being loaded, I stuttered so much there. Anyways, what happens is Minecraft says, hey, we can't execute this command because it's outside of the world. You can't place the block outside of the world. Okay, that's perfectly fine. That would actually be fine. I would know what the issue was immediately. I didn't because, of course it's not going to render that. That makes sense that it wouldn't tell me that. But what happened was even worse than that. It decided to load the structure anyways. And I'm going, okay, that's no problem at all. And also, why would that not load the top? Ha 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 ha. It loaded it in two places. Yeah, so it decided, so you see, there's a caret 60, minus 64, and there's a caret 30. What that does is it tells the boat to place blocks 64 blocks below where it's facing and 30 blocks in front of where it's facing. Combine those values. So, basically, if I was right here and I'm like, okay, place a wool block 5 caret in front of where I'm looking, and then 1 caret up, I'd be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would be that block right there. That's what that would mean. Anyways, so it decides to only take one of those values, so it simply would have taken this distance and placed a block right there. Here's the issue. The numbers I have are drastically different from one another. very, very different from one another. Nope. Anyways, that meant it was placing the structure in 2 different places, which is very bad because those armor stands are saving a structure, and they're no longer being deleted. So that would summon a couple thousand armor stands, which obviously would crash your game, and I don't want that. So that's issue number 1 with that situation. Issue number 2 is it's obviously just not going to print the structure properly. So we have 2 very big issues that we have to deal with immediately. Awesome. Anyways, so I had to fix that issue, but that's a simple fix. Add a ticking area. Ticking area, by the way, just loads what you want loaded, so super simple fix, I know. Thank you for dying. Alright, I want some gold. I'll have to go back to my base, I guess. Anyways, so super simple fix. Everything should be fine now. Is this the moment I talk about trigonometry? No. No, you see, that it's not printing the top of the build just got 1,000 times worse, because now I have to figure out why it's not printing the top of the build. You see, I have the build loaded currently. So why isn't it printing the top of it? Specifically the top. Why doesn't it exist? What? That doesn't make sense at all. Why would it be doing that? There's superpositions in Minecraft and we're going to be talking about them. But no, that's not actually what's here yet. Hello. You're not going to successfully knock me off, sir. It's not happening. Sorry, elf. Sorry, buddy. You can't throw snowballs like he can. Destroyed. Alright. Anyway, so what happened was it was just deciding that the armor stands that are being loaded in temporarily, mind you, because it has to load in those armor stands, are also saving a structure. You can imagine this being the equivalent of your 3D printer 3D printing a 3D printer in a different location. And that 3D printer is also printing something. No, not a 3D printer printing a 3D printer. No, a 3D printer printing its memory somewhere else. And that memory is now a place in space that is being copied. It is so confusing. It is so confusing to imagine that. It printed memory in a place of space that barely exists. Why? That is so annoying. So that's what was happening. Now that shouldn't happen because commands have a queue system. It starts at the bottom of the chain and works its way up. But it decided to screw that. How about we just start anywhere? What does this mean? Well, it means that the save feature can run before the copy feature. Before the paste feature, I mean. Yes, the copier can run before pasting twice. We want it to do copy and then paste, but it's doing copy, paste, which is very bad. Very bad. That should not happen. So, that was a massive issue. And it meant the system was just breaking entirely. It can also do paste, copy, which is equally bad. Denied. Anyways, that's not great. So how do I fix this? I was just like, okay, I'm going to have to split this up into 3 parts. Originally, it was 1 command chain because, that simplifies the logic significantly, and you don't have to deal with, any more issues. Awesome. Good idea. I'm glad I thought of putting everything in one. How smart am I? Very. Sup, bro? What's up? Are you having a good day? Alright. Anyways, what happened is I had to just split it up between its fundamentals. Let's break this man's bed and then he'll chase after me. Yeah, I'm such a jerk. Such a jerk. I'm such a bad person. I just had that man follow me. Anyways, it's not fun to have to split it up into multiple parts, but that's what I did, and it fixed the issue until Minecraft Superpositions came in and ruined my life. It took like a week to solve that. I uploaded a video, went to working on it, and that problem happens. Minecraft superpositions? Are you kidding me? That's a thing? Why? What? It made life so much harder. It is not an easy thing to figure out. You know what happened? I have two tags at once. No, not two tags at once. I have a tag and I don't have a tag at the exact same time. That is not a simple thing like, that must be what the problem is. When I've never encountered anything even remotely like that, but figured it out. You're gonna get stabbed. I already stabbed you last time, elf. You weren't a great elf last time, and now you're not a great elf this time. Destroyed. Easy. So what is this issue of superpositions? Well, you see, I now had to change how movement worked. Yeah, that problem came to bite me in the butt, didn't it? So the movement just tells the printer to move down a line. Keep scanning. That's all it does. But it needs to know when to stop moving. There's an order to it. When it was all in one chain, this was simple. Because it was just at the top of the chain. The only way it could fire is if everything else did. So, super simple. Why did I not get that last or? Okay, cool. Anyways, that just makes it work very simply. And I never had any issues with the tower structure. But we can't do that because we had to fix it not loading in the top. Because the armor stands for being rendered twice. So, what was the issue? I have to have a tag. This tag is literally just called stop, by the way, and it says don't move if Team Bear, that's my username, has the tag stop. And I have the tag stop, so they shouldn't move. So anyways, they're moving. Uh-oh, that's not good. Also, I had to split this into multiple items, which made it super clunky to use. I just wanted to mention that because it was originally I just had to hold an item and I could watch the structure print, and it was super satisfying. But then I had to change it to multiple, so I had to make it super manual. That's not fun. Hello. Oh, thank you. I didn't know he even noticed I was there. I feel stupid. I'm sure he feels smart. Cool. I just got dunked on. Anyway, so the problem was I did not have this tag at the exact same moment. So there is an unless feature in this tag. So run unless Team Bear has the tag that tells you to not do anything. It didn't care. Why? No. Oh my gosh. I was looking in a random direction suddenly. I did not like that idea. What are you gonna do? Stab me? Pfft. No, you're getting stabbed yourself. Deal with it. Alright, so anyways. I have an unless feature, so it should only execute unless I have the tag stop. And I have the tag stop. And I also didn't have the tag stop at the exact same moment. So it would run anyways. But you could also confirm this tag by just literally doing /tag Team Bear add stop, and you would have the stop tag officially. You could also do /tag Team Bear remove tag. And also I figured this out because I decided to test it. I'm so glad I decided to. I feel so smart for testing that. Oh, and by the way, the test is super simple. /TP add a tag equals stop. And then to a location or whatever. And then /TP everyone who doesn't have the tag. Super simple. I got teleported both times. What? Tag list. I have the tag. Okay. That's weird. So what did I do to solve this? Well, I did something that isn't really related to it. But it worked out. What did I do? I flipped the commands upside down. That wasn't a joke. I literally, not metaphorically, decided to flip the commands upside down, and I also added an extra command to officially say, I don't have the tag. And another one to officially say, I have the tag. Stop. Why are you after me, Red? Okay, good. He's not actually after me. Good. I guess he saw my wooden defense and decided, nah, we ain't going after that guy. We're minding our own business, says Red. Good. Anyways, that was an issue. To have to figure out what a superposition is. That took way too much of my time, and I was very confused. Surprisingly, coding a fix for it only took a day, but figuring out the problem took forever. I think you can imagine how confusing that must be going, why is it not printing the structure? Why do I have the issue of it just loading these things in a different area? It should be working. To every sense it should be, but Mojang just has a bug and can't just officially say, you don't, or you do have the tag. The game just doesn't know to process it, which actually leads you to an interesting paradox. I just want to briefly mention that if you had an unless and if statement for that tag, it would work in the same command. So execute unless the person has the tag and execute if the person has the tag. That is very contradictory. Like, that should not work in any universe. That was a pretty long one. Wow. That went on for a while. I like that block placement right there. Yeah, you got it. I can actually just run in and stab you twice, so I'm not worried. But anyways, with that problem solved, I decided to record a video on me solving all those problems. It went well. It's about the length of this video. And then I went to edit it, stopped editing, decided to work on the build some more. And our old friend trigonometry was no longer our friend. It was our enemy. So, if you remember a while ago in the video, I mentioned I gave this thing a bone structure so that I could rig it much more easily. That is not going to be a thing anymore. Why? Well, you see, if you rotate a build and it has a massive offset, well, it's being rotated on a point very far from it. And if you are, say, on the outside of a very big tire, and it spins 5 degrees, you moved a lot. If someone's in the middle of the tire and it spins 5 degrees, they only moved a little. That was a problem. These things are moving at different degrees, and their offset, yeah, sure, it's the same. But because it's such a big number, they're very far away. So part A and part B are 5 miles apart. Even though, if you have no rotational offset, they're exactly where they should be. Damn it! Yeah, I wasn't expecting this to be a problem, so you can undo this if you decide to do a little bit of simple trigonometry. I, of course, am not going to do that. I have a different plan now. What I'm going to do is I am going to model for the structure I'm posing, calculate all the degrees of my real-life person, put them into Minecraft, and have a script just run rotation values off of it. Yeah, that doesn't sound overkill at all. Nah. It's slightly overkill, but like, that is... Ooh! This guy got stuff. Didn't even matter. Because we're just too good. We're good. Alright, so anyways, that's what I'm going to have to do. It's a lot of work. Hopefully there's no more issues because this has been a lot of work. Like I said, I want this project to take less than 6 months. And that's what this printer is for, and it has just been a whole lot of work. It was meant to make this thing easier. Well, I guess not easier, but take less time. Yeah, you can't reach me, can ya? Unexpected. Nope. Oh, I walked off. That's awkward. He jumped off. You fool. Glorious. That worked out just swell. So yeah, this project has just been so much work. So much work. I've just been building occasionally, and just writing the commands for this has been so tedious. But posing that thing, like I said, it would take about 3 months. It would take about 3 months to pose that thing by hand. Hence me making a printer and being willing to even deal with all of its problems rather than just cracking down and making it myself. Because, no, I'm not going to spend 3 more months. This was supposed to be a 2-day project, and it's not been 2 days. It's been more like, what is that number now? Over 90. Oh my god. We're nearing 100 real life days. You've heard of those 100 Minecraft day challenges? This is a 100 real life day challenge. Oh my god. 100 real life day challenge. Unexpected. Holy cow. Yeah. I am going to keep talking about this progress occasionally. Probably just going to be community posts or whatever, if I even decide to keep talking about this. Probably after I edit this video, I'm going to just be like, another problem occurred. Another problem. Another problem. Great. I'm going to just hope there's no more problems. For obvious reasons, I don't want to deal with even more stuff. That's all I can imagine there would be, but then again, I didn't even imagine Minecraft Superpositions were going to be a thing. So, whatever. If you enjoyed this video about all the problems I went through, please subscribe or whatever. Bye.